we'll just start from the top. Like, what are your overall thoughts about Street Fighter 6? How are you feeling about it?
I feel extremely reinvigorated, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I hear
like
you.
I really do. I feel very, very reinvigorated. I really do think about it throughout the day, not continuously, but I really do like. I don't think about it in current time. I think about 2023. You know what I'm saying? Like I think about 2023. When I was here with my friends the other day, I'm like, yo, this is gonna be the house. I'm like, there's gonna be setups all over the
Street Fighter 6 house
on every counter. Like there's gonna be 4 setups on a table, 2 like this and 2 like this. Like this is gonna be the house. Because back in the day, one of the reasons why but we were good in Street Fighter 5 because there was such a drive locally. Me and all my friends, that's what we did. We chilled. We played Street Fighter, we bullshit, we ate, we played Street Fighter, we went to a tournament, we came home, dudes fell asleep on my floor, I woke up, I made pancakes, we played Street Fighter. Like it was just what we did almost every day. And I'm hoping to God that this game creates that. Yeah, for everybody. I mean, for me, and that's why I was good in Street Fighter 5. I wasn't good because I decided to be good. I was good because the people around me were also just as good.
Exactly. You're only ever as good as your competition.
All my friends were very, very good in Street Fighter 5. So like it made me want to be better, you know, and like it made us get each other better. So again, I don't think about Street Fighter I don't think about Street Fighter 6 what it is right now. I think about Street Fighter 6 what it's going to do to me and what it's going to do in 2023 to my friends and the scene and what it's going to be like. That's where my head wanders there.
Yeah.
A couple times a day, for real, a couple times a day.
No, for sure. So, like, I feel the same. You wrote this really beautiful post about it in like a notepad.
Thank you.
It's hit home to me because like it resonated with a lot of people. But it's like fighting games mean a lot to us, and they go way beyond the game. Like from a social perspective, I know you through fighting games, and I consider you like one of my best friends. You know, like they go so much beyond like the game itself. So when there's only a few moments in your life when a new fighting game comes out, especially to the level of Street Fighter's prestige, right? Yeah. So, like when I saw the Street Fighter 6 trailer, it wasn't just a trailer. It's me sort of like reflecting on the past couple of years and thinking, okay, so. All right, since 2000, that was the era of Street Fighter 5. That's how my life changed in the past couple of years. And I wonder what the next chapter will bring. I'm actually bookmarking my life according to fighting game entries. But this is how imbued they are with us, you know? So, same as you, I'm thinking about it all the time. And I'm thinking, what's going to come next? What's this going to bring to our lives? And I'm really excited for this because it looks like it looks inspired.
That's actually really good. That's a really good description of it. It looks inspired. Yes, it does. It looks like someone gives a shit.
You know, like Street Fighter 5 started off in a rough spot when it first came out. I think season 1 was. We've talked about this, and I think in a previous podcast. But season 1 was good, and there was a lot of potential to capitalize on, and it didn't really hit home with like a lot of people because it lacked so many basic functions like single player and arcade. But from a competitive perspective, I think season 1 was promising, but then season 2 and 3 sort of dunked on it. And
a little bit,
yeah. But Street Fighter 5 has been on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, about the last 2 years, I gotta give like Capcom credit, man. Like they certainly were much better with communication, much better with handling the game. Complete 180 from where they were 4 years ago. Like they certainly have ended on a good note, but unfortunately, like you said, like, and I hate to sound cheesy, but you know, a lot of times, especially in the consumer market, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And when you're spending money and you're doing shit like that, people don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
you only get one chance. You only get one chance, you know? But that's sort of like a redemption arc, Street Fighter 5. I feel like Street Fighter 5 now is actually a really damn good game.
Yeah, I think it's good too. I have zero problems with Street Fighter 5 the last 2 years. I think it's been done very well. Again, from the characters, from balancing, from the additional characters and shit. Like they've done a very good job with the game, but it's just a day late, a dollar short, unfortunately, for the most part.
Yeah, I hate to like zero in on one person because it's always much more complex than that. But I feel like when Ono left.
Gonna say his name. I wasn't gonna say his name, but if you want to say it first, you can say it first.
I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna go there. Look, I don't want to square the blame on Ono because it's never just one person. Yeah, but I think Ono's departure signaled to Capcom that we need to restructure the teams in time, and they have. And there's clearly a lot of fresh, young talent on the team, and this is actually quite unusual for a Japanese development company because, like, as someone who's worked in a Japanese corporate environment, things don't change. Like, it's very sort of like,
if this works, we keep doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like, you know, your position is based very much on age and authority rather than competence, which means young people don't generally get to have positions of any sort of meaningful influence or say, which is why what Capcom are doing with Street Fighter is so unusual. But you can really sense this sort of youthful, vibrant, inspired approach to Street Fighter 6, and that makes me so excited. Like, it's like they have something to say. It's like we have this vision for our fighting game from people who play fighting games. It's also, it feels like they're trying something different with the system, and they're going for like a real aesthetic with this. I feel like Street Fighter 5 looked good, but there was no overarching sort of art direction to it. With this, it's like, we're going for this look, and it's a very specific look. There are shades of Third Strike in there, but they're going for sort of like a hyper real sort of inky graffiti style, street style. Like, they have a very defined look, like an evolution of Third Strike maybe, which is awesome. It just feels inspired on every level, and from an art and a business perspective, I think they're on the right track, because it's like single player stuff is so important for getting like the attention of a casual audience, which is, by the way, the majority audience. And so the fact that they're really focusing on like what seems to be this expansive open world Metro City thing.
They learned, man. They really learned from what happened to Street Fighter V, and I'm sure they paid attention to every other game that may have been just as successful or more successful than 5, and said, all right, now I kind of understand what I have to do. Like, people would ask me all the time, they'd be like, do you have hope for 6? Like, this was a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm like, I do, because there's no way they're going to fuck it up again. Like, there's no way. Like, they can't. They cannot F this one up. And I think they're certainly on the correct track from an aesthetic look. I mean, obviously, we don't know what the in-game stuff is going to look like or portray, but everything that's been shown so far, even the leaks, everything that's been showed is actually pretty good. And if you can compare that to what our first envision of Street Fighter V was, it was night and day, because the first time when we saw 5 was when Mike and Combo Fiend played, I think, somewhere, and that game looked like shit.
Jank. It looked jank. It was like
really shitty. Someone made a really good point. They said it looks as good as some of the NRS games look, but they said
better animation.
But they said, do not animate our game like that.
Yeah, I think, was it Ali Yoon? I think it was the KOF player, but he said, this looks like an NRS game, but with proper animation. With proper animations. I'm like, you kind of nailed it there.
That's actually on point. I have this, like, it kind of looks Virtua Fighter to me too. Like the way some of the models look, it reminds me of VF a little bit. Yeah,
they're going for like realistic proportions with this, which is unusual, because Street Fighter, they've always had sort of like anime size proportions, like, you know, like people have huge ass feet and like you know, small heads, and like sort of this very like this sort of cartoony kind of approach to it. So for them to go for this more,
there's a bit of realism in what they've shown so far. Like actual, like that could be a real person. Like that could be actually somebody, you know.
But at the same time, they're really going ham with like the graffiti and the ink blot effect. So there's this contrast between these really sort of photorealistic looking characters, but all this sort of visual artistry laid on top of that. I think it looks pretty sick just from the trailer we saw.
I think it looks really good. Like I was looking at Jamie's move. Jamie was doing like this breakdance move, and I'm like, look at how smooth he looks. And like just hearing about the system and like the drive system, how the drive system is going to work. The only thing that bothers me, I'm a little nervous that it says the drive system comes back automatically.
Regenerating meter.
Yeah.
Like that's very Mortal Kombat 11, isn't it? They tried that with MK11.
That was a big problem that I had with MK11. Like I was So I mean, look, I have no effing idea what I'm talking about. I don't know how it's going to play. I don't know how detrimental it's going to be to the match or whatever. Who knows how you're going to get it back? It might not even really matter. But just seeing that kind of makes me a little nervous. But I mean, I don't make games, I just play them. So someone knows what they're doing.
I mean, like the thing with the drive system, it seems like they've taken a little something from every Street Fighter.
Every Street Fighter, They took a little bit of Third Strike, a little bit of Alpha. Here's your Street Fighter 4. Like they really took all these concepts that kind of individualize each title and put them into one game, which I think is really smart. I think it's really smart.
It's a synthesis, right? Like, you have, Drive Impact, and when you combine that with Rush, that sounds like a focus attack.
That's like an FA, it's like a focus attack FADC. Yeah, you can dash and you can do it defensively or offensively apparently.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it takes more bar if you. So I believe if you hit somebody, you can dash out of a normal, but it takes like 3 drive or something like that. And it also says, I think you can do the dash after a successful parry. And that's nice too. Oof.
Just from what they're describing, it sounds like they're trying to make it a more offensively geared game. You know, you start with it sounds like you start with a full bar.
Yeah.
These bars
which is very Alpha 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Alpha 3, you start with full bar. Go get him, Tiger.
And I imagine some characters, like the zoning characters, will have strong metered options to keep you away. So I'm excited. Like, it's going to be something fresh. It's going to be something different, but also familiar. And I think they know that, it's like this is even through the character choice. They've clearly gone for like an old meets new approach with this. You have the old comers who've all aged. I love that shit.
Yeah,
I love that this is a Street Fighter after Third Strike, after 25 years. Finally. This is something I love about Tekken 4, for example, that these characters are allowed to develop and like be humans. And I'm not sure if you seen the stuff about Ken, like depressed Ken.
Oh yeah, I love it. I think he looks like that is what I always expected from like a later Street Fighter game. Like he's not going to be pretty Ken, or Ryu's going to be like old and grumpy. Maybe not so much like, you know what I mean? Like I just always envisioned this, like these characters growing up, because you know what? I grew up. I'm not the same person I was when I started playing Third Strike. You know what I'm saying? And it's good to see the characters do the same thing.
Exactly. It makes so much sense that like the older characters are older, like the people who played Street Fighter 2 back in the day. We're all old now. These characters have grown up with us, so we can relate to them more. I'm sure there are plenty of people who've like gone through a divorce and like, oh yeah, now I can relate to Ken. And it's like looking at the leaks. It seems like there are the original 8 newcomers who, like, it's looking at their designs. I think they're cool. They're not really for me. I think they look a little bit, I don't know how to say it, Fortnite-y, probably by design as well, probably intentionally so.
Maybe.
Yeah, but they're not for me. they're for new players, clearly.
Yeah.
It is the old gen meets the new gen. That's clearly what they were going for, even from that initial trailer, which is Ryu stacking up against Liu.
They look very Street Fighter EX to me. Like some characters remind me of like EX drawn characters.
That does make sense.
I don't know if he's on a team. I heard he might have been. I think someone might have said that. But honestly, like I would certainly try a couple of the new characters. Like there's the Aki character. She looks kind of cool.
She looks. I think
Aki
JP
looks cool.
JP is
JP looks kind of cool too.
Yeah.
For some reason, I like Marissa. She's like the boxing. I think it's a girl. Yeah. Like, I don't know why I'm drawn to these characters. I'm like, these characters look kind of cool. Like I would try them.
They're different. They're different.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see that like you have a female character who's like buff and muscular. Like usually that's something that doesn't happen in fighting games. Like Chun-Li's been allowed to age, right? And in a really graceful Michelle Yao kind of way. She looks right. She looks fantastic. I'm excited for this, man. I'm there was some backlash on the whole modern control system, like you can choose between classic and
Yeah.
modern. For me, this is really a non-issue because it's like fighting games have been doing this forever. It sounds exactly like what XR did, which is you have like stylish mode and classic mode, and nobody uses stylish mode in competitive play. It like when you use the modern control systems, which essentially gives you one button specials, you lose half your neutral. Like you only have light, medium, heavy buttons. You don't get 6 buttons. I think it's going to be completely worthless at competitive levels. I don't know what people are worrying about.
The first time that I saw that, I was like, there has to be some. So my big thing about this is I didn't know that you lost the buttons. I was like, all right, if they're going to do something like that, there has to be some sort of drawback to not doing the motion. Maybe if you had like a slight damage nerf, or I don't know, maybe they didn't build meter, but the fact that like you do lose half of your bum, like, okay, that makes sense. Like, okay, got it. That's fine. Yeah. I didn't get into an argument on Twitter, but someone obviously gave me some shit about it. And I'm like, the reason why I want people to learn has nothing to do with a right or a wrong way. So you're telling me that this person is only going to play a game where he can press forward and do a button. So he's never going to know what third strike is like. He's never going to play KOF. He's never going to know what it's like to play plus R. You know, like you'll never play ST because you know what I mean? Like I want people to.
They should pave the way
in everything. Yeah. Like,
they should pave the way.
It's not just about this one game. Like there's so many other things you could play if you can just get over this little training hump. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think my impression of what they're doing with the single player mode is that they're trying to, I might be talking out my ass here, but it seems like they might be trying to integrate this open world sort of story-driven world together with a tutorial. Because it seems like you go around and you fight people and these fights will teach you organically how to play Street Fighter. They'll teach you like how to do, you know, what neutral is, how to throw a fireball, how to anti-air, all this stuff. So I've always thought the tutorials should be integrated with or woven with single player because
very good idea.
Yeah, like let's say I'll a bit of headcanon here. Like Ryu can like, hey Ryu, like, yo, throw me, dude, and you can't damage him until you throw him.
Yeah, until you throw him.
Yeah, right. So it makes sense because single players is the thing that most casual players gravitate to, and if the game can teach you through its campaign what the game, what competitive Street Fighter is about, then online mode is just a hop and a skip away. And I imagine with the modern control system, it's just like making that first step a bit easier, like just having an open door, basically. It seems redundant at competitive level, though. So I just hope there's a roadmap after you've given players this modern, after you've made the game less intimidating. I hope there's a proper roadmap through the single player.
Yeah, that sounds perfect, and honestly, it sounds fairly legit too. I would buy that. Like, that sounds like a something that they would be doing at this point, considering the open world, considering the focus on single player and the modern control scheme.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this game. It's a new Street Fighter game, dude. Like, how often is this gonna happen?
Nothing. Yeah, how many more times are we gonna get something like this? Like, who knows? And that's kind of what I'm. The thing that I focus on a lot is that these are the moments that like. These are the ones that we get a couple times in our life. But point is, like, these moments that we care about, these things that like matter to us, how many times we can make them matter again. So like it feels like the first time. We're only going to get a handful of those as long as we're here on the earth. You know what I mean? So this is one of those times where we get that feeling like, holy shit, another Street Fighter. 7 years after Street Fighter 5, which was 8 years after Street Fighter 4. Like, think about that. Like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
And games live longer now. They're more like business models. Like back in the day, you'd get a Street Fighter, literally like several of them in the same year. But now it's like one Street Fighter game. This is probably gonna last like 10 years. I don't know, man. Like, we might be in our 50s when Street Fighter 7 comes out.
Crazy.
I don't know. That might be the last one for a lot of us. Like, it kind of because like we've been there since Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5. Each of these games was a chapter in our lives. I distinctly remember where I was when Street Fighter 4 came out and what I did during Street Fighter 4's life cycle and where I was with Street Fighter 5's life cycle. And I'm just thinking, what's Street Fighter 6 gonna bring, you know? So yeah, man, can't wait. Can't wait.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I need it, actually.
Yeah.
I need it.